When we talk about multiplication and division of fractions, we want to have a visual model to help us understand what's going on with multiplication and division. So the models that we use for multiplication are fraction of a fraction. So if I have 1/2 of a 2/3 fraction, that really means 1/2 times 2/3. So 1/2 of 2/3 means that I can do it a couple ways. I can take half of each one of the 2/3 slices, and that would represent 2 out of 6 pieces. Okay, so two parts out of 3. I could also think of 1/2 of 2/3 as half of the 2/3 pieces is I just take one of those pieces. That's equal to the 1/3 as well. Okay, so our model for multiplication could be fraction of a fraction. The other model that we use for multiplication is our area model, length times width. And we use this to justify our top times top, bottom times bottom. So if we have a 1/3 times 1/2, or 1/2 times 1/3, I can think of 1/2 along here, and I can divide this into thirds along here. So this represents 1 part out of 2 parts whole. Okay, that would be that section there. And then I could also have, for the 1/3, I can say that this position is 1 part out of 3 parts whole. So when we talk about the area that we're looking for, we're talking about the length of 1/3 times the width of 1/2, and gives us this area in here, or 1 times 1. So we get the 1 in the numerator, and we end up, for the whole, we end up with 3 parts that make up the whole, 2 parts that make up the whole here, so we end up with 6 parts that make up the whole on the bottom, so bottom times bottom. So 1/3 times 1/6 is, 1/3 times 1/2 is 1 out of 6, and we can see that the 1 times 1 in the numerator shows up in the area model, and the 3 times 2 shows up as the denominator, or the pieces that make up the whole, one whole. Lastly, the division model that we use is the easiest way is to think of the division as a ratio model. So when we divide 1/4 by 1/2, really we are comparing a 1/4 fraction to a 1/2 fraction. And I can compare it as a ratio. So 1/4 divided by 1/2 is a 1 part to 2 part comparison. So then the answer must be equal to 1/2. There's 1 part here over the 2 parts that make up the whole. Now this justifies then, confirms our multiply by a reciprocal model. So if I do 1/4, I change the divide to times, do an opposite, and I do another opposite, I end up with 2 out of 4. The 2 to 4 ratio is same as 1 to 2. So this justifies, this ratio model can justify our flip and times.